business there, and all we need to do is bring it into Nigeria and make it work. I think that there's wonderful things that governments elsewhere are doing for their economy, but I am very skeptical that at a large scale, these imports are going to work for Nigeria. And I'm going to tell you why. So my first to-do is to start thinking that all we need to do is find it somewhere else, whether it's Switzerland or Russia or China, and bring it into Nigeria. I just don't see that as being helpful. Obviously we can do it, and it's being done now, but I think that we need to commit to build an in-Nigeria solution. And the reason for that is the following. Your demographic makeup is distinct. It's very different from all others in the entire world. This little slide basically saying is, there's 195 countries in the total in the world. Of these countries, of 195, 7 have a population that is greater than 200 million people as of June 2020. And the stats come from the CIA World Facts. If you need to know something, you ask those folks. That's where I got the numbers. So there's 7 countries in the world that have a population that is 200 million or more. The question then is, how many of these countries have 60% of population, of their population is 24% or younger? And that says that somehow we're going to find a demographic. Demographics are very important, the way we structure to be able to deal with unemployment issues. I don't think we have role models anywhere. Everybody can say something about curing unemployment, but at the mass level, I would urge that we work together to be able to come back with a solution that fits the demographic makeup that we have. And Nigeria looks like this. Nigeria, of all the countries in the world that have more than 200 million people, 62% of our population as of July 2020 is 24 years or younger. So I cannot take the solutions that would take a look at the number of Canada. I live in Canada. Our population here has a lot more people like me, which are old and about to pass away, than young people. So we're the inverse. I cannot take solutions that work in Canada or China or the United States and claim that I can make them work in Nigeria. We can certainly spend the money, we can talk about it, maybe some good things happen, but the point that I'm making this morning is that we have a unique structure in our population now, which in a lot of ways is going to get more challenging as we proceed. What we need to do is to think about what is our Nigeria-built solution to be able to address this crisis that's been talked about in this conference. My second to-do is, okay, what are we going to do? Let's suppose that we buy into the fact that we have this structure that is different. It is not something that can learn from Switzerland and bring it into Nigeria, or learn from the UK. That's not going to work. So what am I proposing? Well, our biggest talent, our biggest asset in Nigeria right now is what we're worried about, our youth. Let's leverage our youth to be able to create wealth. The only way out of this is to be able to take what we have abundance of, which is our young people, and create wealth with that young people. So the challenge, the theoretical framework that I'm proposing this morning, is for us to take a look at our youth not like a problem, but as a great opportunity, because many other countries in the world, like Canada, don't have what you have. You have abundant resources under the ground, and you have abundant resources in terms of your youth. So when I came to Nigeria 2-3 years ago for the first time, I loved it. And I went to speak to the universities because they are the people who are in charge, responsible for this skilling education of this Nigerian youth. We don't have that asset. We get it from you. Thousands of Nigerians come to study in Canada every year. And that's a loss for Nigeria. Again, for Canada, I'm happy, but it's a loss to the country. So what I'm going to propose this morning is that we take a look at economic models. So I'm going to apply theory here. And I've thought a lot about the different options and what can be done and what cannot be done and so forth and so on. And my little gold star there, I gave myself a medal, came back with this thing that builds on theory, which I'm outlining in this particular slide. You have to create wealth. And I'm going to argue that what my pitch is going to be, let's use our young people. Let's provide them with the opportunity to create wealth, not just in Nigeria, but around the world. Nigeria is not going to be big enough to be able to create the wealth required to be able to satisfy the needs of our young folks. So let's unleash them. Let's enable them. Let's skill them. Let's educate them. But not just for the local market, the local realities that we have to deal with, but the wealth is to be gotten from going global. So my little model here, I'm going to argue that there is this little box. This is, I'm not going to bore you with all the theories, but this has been around for, at least 10 years. Nigerian youth with resources that are elsewhere. Some of them are domestically inside your ground, mining, agriculture. But they're also outside of Nigeria. These young people working with people who have, for example, channels to market. They have experience. They have needs that can only be satisfied by people who are young and technology savvy. That is why I'm going to argue this morning that we should go. And I'm looking for opportunities to create significant, not just value, not just I'm going to get a paycheck. I am looking for opportunities to create significant value in Nigeria, in Africa, but also worldwide, particularly on those countries like Canada, where we have a whole bunch of old people. And these old people did their stuff, but they're old. They don't have the same drive, the same energy, the same longevity of life that the people who deal with, which are in Nigeria. I deal with Nigeria, I've been dealing with Nigerian youth for 25 years of my life, and they're a tremendous resource to have. Now that value that gets created has to be distributed to what I'm going to call stakeholders, who are many times resource owners. People in government, I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. However, it's just not enough. What we need to do is acquire resources, attract resources from all over the world, and then go and address opportunities that create significant value so we can go and distribute that value that we created to our stakeholders, both inside of Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. So in terms of theory, I'm going to hang my presentation on this particular slide. And I'm going to argue that the Nigerian youth is the most important resource that we have today to be able to solve the problem of unemployment that obviously has, as our previous speaker correctly said, has been aggravated by COVID, and we've had to go and make a whole bunch of fiscal moves and monetary moves and structural moves to be able to address it. But that's a band-aid. Right? That is, we can't continue, it's not sustainable. We need to configure these resources and create wealth. And that wealth cannot go to other countries, and a good chunk of it has to be retained in Nigeria. So the pitch here, which I'm going to be very opinionated about, as you can tell, is let's use our most important resources, which is our Nigerian youth, configure them with assets that lie elsewhere, processes that lie elsewhere, take priorities that have worked well for other countries, and create and retain wealth for the benefits of Nigeria. Nigerian youth is your biggest resource. And why is that? Well, they were born digital. I wasn't born digital. I just wasn't. We put a tech savvy. You come with something that our Canadian youth don't know. That's not what they use. Your youth uses it because they don't have the money to be able to pay all these gizmos that we have in Canada. So they have innovated to be able to communicate with among themselves in ways that we haven't. I believe very strongly that the youth in Nigeria is a lot more valuable than a lot of the wonderful resources that you have under the ground, and I like to focus my attention to be able to solve their unemployment challenge, working with the particular groups that are represented here today. What's my third to-do? So the second to-do is I need a theoretical framework. Talking about it, passing legislation, typing up papers is not going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem? Wealth creation at the global level. So the idea here is to get Nigerians working, let's say Canadians or other people that really need the Nigerian youth to create wealth and retain that wealth in Nigeria. So it's very different than exporting and importing. I think that that's old thinking. What we need to do is focus our youth in wealth creation. So for that point then, my third to-do is I need to develop bridges with countries that need talented Nigerian youth with the right skills. This is very important. This is coming up. I just don't want people that, we can't do anything with. You need talented Nigerians with the right skills. So that's why the University of Lagos is such an important asset that we have in the country. The other universities, obviously, but we have such a good relationship with the University of Lagos, and we continue to work with them to be able to make this happen. So what countries am I talking about? Not every country is going to work with Nigeria. They have this facades, this history or whatever. So what are we looking for? It's no different than target marketing. We're looking, I believe, to work with, build a special bridge, as I call them, with countries that have three requirements. Number one is they need access to more young people. They don't have them. We don't have them in Canada. So we have to get them from abroad. And we provide them with huge incentives to come to Canada. Well, let's say, look, Canadians, why don't we keep our talented youth in Nigeria? And let's work with you guys to be able to provide the things that you guys need, provided that you pay us. So we're looking for countries that have access to and need more young people. They don't have them. They have small populations. Canada, relative to you folks, we're a peanut little thing. We're 37 million people, assuming that I can count the polar bears and the penguins we have. So we're very small, and we're not going to grow at the rate that Nigeria is growing. You are being forecasted to be the third largest country in the world in terms of population with foreseeable future. We're not even there. Our youth is, our growth is going down in terms of the population. So we're looking for countries like us. And then countries that also need to increase and diversify trade. China was mentioned earlier. I'd like to also mention the United States. I'm going to talk about the Canadian example, but many other countries are in the same boat. We're too close to the States, and we'll be trading with China. There are two largest partners that we have. 80% of the trade that Canada does is with the United States, just because they're an hour away, and China, which they're very far away, but they have a whole bunch of products that are very price competitive, so we buy them. However, that has worked for us very well for a long period of time until recently. The geopolitical situation in the world has changed. We now know what dealing with China actually means. And some of us are not very happy with that. And we definitely have seen what the United States economy looks like, and the voting that we just had on November 1st gives us a very clear insight on where their heads are at. And the point that I'm making this morning is that it is way too risky for us to have very limited type of trade in today's geopolitical area. So Nigeria and Africa are wonderful places to go and reinvent the world, and I am really driving that point this morning. So we're looking then at a theoretical framework that is focused on creating wealth. We're looking at combining our young people with the resources that exist in Canada, in countries like Canada that need youth. We don't have them. So what we do is we import them, and then we keep them. I don't want to do that. I want them to be in Nigeria. I enjoy Nigeria. I spent my last 2 birthdays in Nigeria. And I could have not found a better place to enjoy my birthday. I want the youth, the talented youth, to grow, loving their country, not feeling that they have to leave. My 4th to-do is training the youth is not enough. I've said that to every vice chancellor that has a conversation with me. It is not enough. We need to enable them. We bring them to the classroom, we provide them all kinds of wonderful stuff, then they leave us and they find that they can't do very much with what we told them because we have corruption, we have this, we have that, we have the other. Stop that. If we're going to spend the time, this is our most important asset. Let's not just train them and educate them, let's enable them to do things that are important to us. I am going to put a stake on the ground that say that there's no other technology trend today. I was asked to talk about technology, so I had to think loud about this, and I ended up with AI applications. AI stands for Artificial Intelligence Applications. That includes deep learning, machine learning, all those technologies that are AI. In a lot of words, is a big word that doesn't really mean a hell of a lot. It is a combination of a whole bunch of things. Ladies and gentlemen, today I take this opportunity to say, look, there are many technologies out there. I'm going to pick one just to make this work. And I'm not going to solve everybody's problems. But I know that if I can do the right things with AI applications in Nigeria, I will solve a lot of the unemployment problems that we have today in youth. So what I'm proposing as a 2-4 for this structure that I have developed is the one that says, enable our youth to build, deploy, and commercialize AI applications nationally and around the world. I'm going to very quickly go through this because, I don't have to talk. I love this stuff. So you get to talk about this stuff, we'll be here for the next 10 hours, but just trust me. IoT devices, big, this is part of what I'm talking about. 5G is coming to Nigeria, unavoidable. This is a young people's world. It's not an old people's world. It's a young people's world. Cloud computing. We invented it, but the young people have taken it over. Edge computing, all the processing that the young people are doing to be able to make sense of all this information that they gather is being denied. Those worlds that I just showed you are driving economic development everywhere. Let's harness that. Let's basically take our young people and say, look, this is going to be there for a while. Let us not just develop the skills. Let us enable our young to be able to create opportunities that add significant value around the world that are built on these technologies. And of course, these are the supporting technologies. You've got the software frameworks and the hardware that are able to make this happen. And there's a lot. And I don't care whether you come from the arts or the social sciences or computer science. This is for everybody. We need everybody, not just the nerd types that are going to go on top of it. Those people are going to be replaced by AI. We're not going to replace the artists. We're going to replace the programmers. That's the part that's missing. Within the next 5 years, we're going to have machine learning, artificial intelligence devices that says, I don't need programmers that make errors and they cost me money. I can do this with the latest technologies in AI. The artist, you know what? I can't replace the artist. And you have some beautiful Nigerian artists that have come all over the world. They're known worldwide, they're not known in Nigeria. So we need everybody. This is just not, the nerd types It's for everybody. The key point here is that it has to be AI driven and it has to be enabled by the forces that be. AI systems are important for a whole variety of reasons. It's not the future, it's today. This has started already. So let's jump in the bandwagon and make a national effort to be able to have everybody have a good chunk of their youth solving domestic problems using artificial intelligence, whether it's logistics or banking or agriculture or mining, and then learn from that experience and take those applications, those solutions to the world market. Because guess what? They can't do it. You need young people for this. So Canada is at a total disadvantage. We have to import people, then train them in English and French and whatever, so they can do the programming and do the necessary things to build the system. You have it. It's there for the taking. I'm urging you to go and make that leap of faith and have your young people produce applications that are useful to Nigerians as well to people all over the world. AI is distinctive for three reasons. Number one is that it creates devices and hardware and software that allow you to think. That it is things that humans do. And people are scared of that because they think, oh, we're going to be replaced. No! There's a lot of jobs that can be created. Somebody has to build the systems. So it has to test the systems, validate the systems, make sure that they're free of biases. You have to deploy worldwide. Lots of opportunities for young people doing what I'm proposing to do today. The second distinct feature is the fact that we must trust these systems, and we don't. Why is that? Because we're developing in New York, we're developing in California, and then we take them to northern Nigeria, in Syria, for example, and say, use them. Well, I don't know what to do. I wasn't part of this. Building the system is talking about things that I don't understand, so I don't trust it. So let's build trusted systems. Let's build systems that can be trusted inside Nigeria. Well, we need those things. We've been too China-centric and too North American-centric. Let's change that and have systems that Africans trust, Nigerians trust, to solve, to improve their lives. And the third one is something that I would not have the time today, but it's a really fascinating story, is that AI becomes, is like all of a sudden you have a third person sleeping in your bed. So there's your spouse, there's you, and there's something called an AI system. An AI system is an agent for organizations that does some wonderful things, but you need to be careful with that agent. So the relationships are no longer just two people talking to one another. It is two people and an AI agent. And every organization in the world is becoming that. So it's the man-machine interface, the women-machine interface that's important. All of us, we have invented something like the internet. And what's unique, what's distinct, what's important for us to be able to harness and enable our young people to be able to be wonderful and create the wealth that we much need in Nigeria is the fact that now, instead of two, you have a relationship that has three components. The third one being that famous AI agent. These AI agents can do many things that humans were the only ones that could do in the past. They can make decisions, they can perceive things we cannot, they can understand better than we can, they can visualize, they can recognize, they can do a lot of stuff that we can't. However, that doesn't mean that we're going to lose our jobs. We're going to lose them anyway because we can't compete. It's going to create new opportunities for us. So let's go and take our youth. Stop thinking there's a problem. Let's view it as the greatest asset that we've got and deploy them in this particular sector, which is 10 times more significant, 100 times more impact that the internet has. That will be the results of AI. My fifth to-do is let us start integrating our youth into those artificial intelligence ecosystems that just started. So they're new. They will welcome us. They've been there for 5 years. And let's go and work with them to be able to make those AI ecosystems more attractive, because that's a door to markets around the world. That's a door for financing around the world that we can bring back to Nigeria if we can just get our act together and solve these problems that people have around the world. So I'm not going to argue that we need major, but let's stop talking about old business model. We continue to teach that stuff. I'm still appalled about continuing. This stuff doesn't work anymore. You know, the internet changed everything, and now AI is going to destroy everything. So we need to recreate it. One of the things that are consistent is this ecosystem value creation models. So let's stop about talking this, you know, it's just, it is dead. It is, you know, let's burn those books. Let's go and take a look at ecosystems and create value. What I'm proposing this morning is that we work with the AI ecosystems around the world, because they bring us together and we're in uncharted territory. So we got a chance to be able to create wealth in proportions that are unparalleled in the history of Nigeria. This is a slide you can all read. I believe that it's no longer company. People still talking about company versus company competition. That's nonsense. In today's world, in today's economy, it's ecosystem versus ecosystem. You have the AI ecosystem anchored in the United States, and you have the AI ecosystem anchored around China. That's the real competition is between those two. If you examine what the Chinese are doing and what you examine what the Americans are doing, it's really not company specific. It's building the ecosystem that they believe will conquer the world, will be the next wave in the world. Let's get into that game. Let's be part of these ecosystems. Let's bring our youth, enable them to be part of these ecosystems so they can bring the wealth back to Nigeria. There are 3 types of ecosystems. We need to put our people there. Not just the innovation ecosystem, but also the business ecosystems and the platform ecosystems. And I have examples of these things here, and I got many, many more examples of the ecosystems that I believe young Nigerians should be a part of. And then what we need to do is integrate ourselves into those ecosystems. And what I've got here is 8 ways in which we can get our young people to start adding value to those ecosystems, because that's where the connections we have. Is scaling is the best way to do it. And we couldn't do it 50 years ago because the technologies were not there. The technologies are there today. So I don't know how many of you have seen this slide. I started with that slide something like 5 years ago, arguing that we need a mindset shift. The world has changed, and that mindset shift requires us to scale as opposed to just think about developing a business plan and hope for the best. Scaling early is very important. This little child there that you see on stop 1, that child, men or women, must know how to be able to become a $1 billion company. I've started a whole bunch of programs that, based on a research program that I'm leading, that finds these companies that have been able to create, imagine, okay, we have one company in Nigeria that has done that, but that's not enough. Let's think about 100 companies in Nigeria. What they did is they started with 0 value, and then with less than 10 years later, they were worth more than $1 billion. And we're talking about American dollars, not Canadian dollars. We're talking about the hard stuff. Right? Canadian dollar is worth 80% or it's much softer. We're talking about American dollar. This can be done, this can be learned, this can be deployed. This is what our students should be learning to be able to satisfy the needs using AI around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I have key messages and then I will leave the floor. My key messages are, number 1, I got very opinionated simply because I wanted to put something on the table that was concrete. And not just talking about the unemployment, saying, look, I think we can solve it, not the whole thing because that's a big problem, but certainly a big chunk. By having a good theoretical model of why this is going to work, and my theoretical model model is about creating wealth and retaining wealth. That is what we need to do with our youth. And then a model that says we got to build the bridges, resources come to, well, let's go get countries that will welcome Nigerians. And they're not just going to take our young people or come and export to us. They're going to actually work with us because they need us to be able to satisfy their own needs. I have argued about the ecosystem mindset because the old traditional models are just, they're not working. I mean, get serious. That world is gone. I'm focusing this on AI simply because that's widespread. It's all over the world. That's what the market is. Let's go and satisfy those needs and bring the money back so our young people don't feel the urge or the anxieties that they feel today. Let's give them a chance by enabling them. So to reduce youth unemployment, I would like us to commit to leveraging Nigeria's biggest resource, which is your youth. 62% of your country is 24 years old or less. Let's use it. Let's leverage it. Let's invent a way to do it. And what I'm proposing this morning is that this youth gets trained, gets educated to work with other countries around the world that have different resources than the ones that exist underneath your ground, that they can find useful and build the strength, be the go-to place in the world for AI technology. And I truly believe that that is going to be possible simply because you have the asset that many other countries do not. Youth, young people. And AI is about young people. It's not about old people like me. So I'm arguing that what we need to do is set the priorities that enable these Nigerian youth to be able to go and say very early on, we're going to go and sell this globally. Yeah, we're going to work with the Canadians, and we're going to do something smart with the Canadians, but my target market is going to be a global market because that's the way I can retain more wealth in Nigeria, as opposed to having to move somewhere else because my opportunities are limited. This is a big world, 195 countries. Let's go and satisfy their needs. We can do this. The third point that I'm making is the fact that, what you need to do is in the classrooms, both education and training, is learn how to create value for many stakeholders. And the most important stakeholders are obviously the customers, second are the investors, and third are the channels. Let's really get smart about what those organizations require to be able to take the goods and services that we're going to produce with other countries and around the world. Embrace AI is my last point. Don't fight it. Embrace it. It is going to be 10 times to 100 times more significant than what we did with the internet, and it's coming in faster. It's not a tomorrow story. It's a yesterday story. Let's catch up. Pick up the areas that, for example, we can do wonderful things in mining. We can do wonderful things in ports. We can do wonderful things in agriculture. We can do wonderful things in medicine. We can do wonderful things on these diseases that can kill the entire world. Let's use AI to be able to do the things that the world cares about. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to provide a special thanks to the University of Lagos. We have a very close relationship. I'm absolutely delighted to see the Vice President today. And the Vice Chancellor, not the Vice President, Vice Chancellor. I'm definitely very pleased to see all your graduates, who is the Assistant to the Vice President, Chimoku Ogunole. So thank you very much. I thank you profusely for having me all the way from Canada. And have a great conference and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tony Bailetti. And because of the importance of what he said, AI is important. It can do so many things. It's real time. But what I'm going away with is that AI is about us, the youth, not about you, the older people. It's now time to take the question and answer for Dr. Oduwole Sons. session. We will just take 2 questions, and if there are other questions, we could just then send it across to the director of the center. He will definitely get it across to her. But for this sitting, we'll take 2. Either questions or comments. Just 2. All right, because she's in such a hurry to go continue, no comment. Straight to the question. I have your... Okay, please come. Yes, please. Let's just know who you are and then...
My question is, I saw that you say something like that. SME is not the foundation of the economy that it also. And look at the issue of disabled youth, which constitutes a large portion of this youth. And looking at I have the opinion that if these disabled youths are plugged in, they will also be a kind of form of entrepreneurial. They will create jobs that have been independent. Now my question is, your ministry, how far, what any palliative or what have you done to scale up these youth and these disabled youth as entrepreneurs? And also, what also are you doing to scale them, or and also to scale the ease of doing business for this entrepreneur, for this disabled youth, which I feel they could be entrepreneurs. That's the question. Thank you.
All right.
I'm sure she will use that to chat.
I'm a policymaker in the presidency, so I don't work in the ministry. So that's why I was referring to the ministers, the implementing ministries. In fact, the ministries are also policy agencies. So for instance, for employment and for small and medium-sized enterprises, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment handles that. And then you have agencies like SNEDAN, agencies like NIPC, agencies like NEPC. That's just how it works at the federal level. So I work with agencies, ministries, and departments on their reforms. And they put together quite a few policies. I mentioned some during the Economic Sustainability Plan, and you get the presentation. But before that, I also mentioned interventions like Empower, Entrepreneurial program. There's several. It's hard to synthesize it all into 45 minutes. But if you go on the website, or if you do research, you will find a ton of information. If it's palliatives alone, if you just type in palliatives, you'll see whether it's CBN palliatives, whether it's Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment palliatives, SNEDAN, you see a lot of programs that are available. But having said that, one of my key points was that government should do what government does best, which is create the enabling environment. The private sector is the catalyst for economic growth. Government spend, the federal government spend, is circa 10% of our GDP. If you add state GDPs, it still is not 20% of our GDP. The private sector is the engine of growth, particularly SMEs. So we have a situation where our informal sector, our MSME, are the engine of our own growth. So we're trying to get them
my right. But please make sure, when you go for tea, keep physical and social distancing. So don't talk to anybody too close. You can wave to them, but don't be too near. And physically and socially, please keep your distance. There will be photographs out there. Appreciate your lecture. And like I said, AI is for the younger ones, of who and in which class I belong. Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's take photographs outside, please, with the, we will have to do it turn by turn to still keep with the spirit of COVID.
How many am I entitled? You can see how one can play. One of the
small and the medium enterprises as well. The essence of getting all this is to create jobs, reduce unemployment, and also boost self-employment. So against this backdrop, the paper general objective is to actually examine how MSMEC, that's the medium, small and medium enterprise, how are they tools for creating jobs, for promoting self-employment, and reducing youth unemployment in post-COVID era in Lagos. We use Lagos State Employment Trust Fund Agency as a case study, because that's the mechanism Lagos State is using to see how they can create jobs, reduce unemployment among youths. So the first objective is to find out the relationship between Lagos State Employment Trust Fund funding and its impact on job creation in post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Second one is how the vocational training for skill acquisition will impact on self-employment in post-COVID-19 pandemic era. The third one is to find out if the funding of micro, small and medium enterprise by Lagos State Employment Trust Fund will reduce youth employment in post-COVID-19 pandemic era.
The low impact that you are presenting to us, is it as a function